Alright guys, so today I'm going to be doing CHING number 105. So we're just going to get straight into this CHING. The first thing that I have is actually a set. This was a complete set of books called the Tea Room Mysteries. Eric actually found these at a yard sale. He paid 10 cents a piece, 10 cents a piece for each book. And we sold that whole set for $189.99. At that yard sale, we got like a couple different complete sets of books, and this one was a really good set. This was for a pair of vintage clip-on earrings. They were marked Matisse, and they were like little artist paint palettes, and those sold for $19.99, and they came from a yard sale. At one point, I had just got a couple pieces of jewelry at a yard sale, and they just bundled them all together for a set price. I actually did a video, I think, of me going through that jewelry. I also sold, this was for 24 Thomas Kincaid Old World Santa ornaments. Those sold for $149.99, and I'm pretty sure, I want to say those came from an auction. I can't remember. It's been a little while. Next we have, this was for a lot of 2 AG hair cosmetics. These were curl recoil shampoos. Those sold for $19.99. The next 2 items went to a subscriber named Beth. She purchased a vintage, this was from the 1980s, children's sweater. It was by a company called Rachel's Kids. That sold for $29.99. And she also purchased a 1993 Barbie paper doll book that sold for $7.99. And the sweater came from a yard sale, and the paper doll book probably came from a yard sale as well. I also sold, this was from 1994. It was called Tabletop Hangman, and it was a game. Eric won a box of some vintage games at an auction at one point, and that's where this came from. It sold for $14.99. I also sold another Monster High doll. This one was of Cleo Denial, and she sold for $68. She was one of the original ones, what they call the first wave. I also sold this was for a lot of 2 thickener hair conditioners. They were by a company called Puritan's Pride. These were like a discontinued type of item. Discontinued beauty items, some can sell really well. These sold for $39.99 for the set of 2, and they came on a tray of some random beauty stuff that I won at an auction. Next we have a Karl Lagerfeld perfume. It was called KL. That sold for $299.99 because, well, it's a discontinued vintage perfume. I actually found that at a fill-a-bag rummage sale. That was probably one of my top 5 best-selling items that I've gotten at a fill-a-bag rummage sale. My other one probably would have been that orange bittersweet swung vase that I purchased from someone who had purchased it at the rummage sale. Next we have, this was a dog toy. This was from the Bark Box, and it was like a latte shaped. It was called the Ginger Bark Latte. Really cute. I got that at a yard sale. I had found a yard sale where they were selling a bunch of dog toys for like a quarter, 50 cents a piece. They were all like Bark Box toys. I got 2 of these, and my dog has the other one. She doesn't really play with it much because it's a larger toy. So I did sell this one, and that sold for $9.99. I want to get a subscription to the Bark Box for her. I just haven't. Only because I know that those subscription boxes also come with like different treats each month, and I don't want like a huge accumulation of treats and like dog cookies and stuff like that. So I wish it was just like a subscription that was just toys, because I don't I just don't want to get the treats every month. Next we have a mini boys bear. This one had a sweater on that said "Get Well Soon." That sold for $49.99, and that probably came from a yard sale as well. I also sold a Longaberger tissue box holder basket that sold for $39.99, and that I think I paid $5 for at a yard sale. Next we have a grain gunpowder scale. Eric had won this at an auction. It has to do with people making their own bullets and stuff like that. I had sold another type of piece like that in my last cha-ching, and that sold for $99.99. I also just had gotten a cha-ching. We'll see what that is towards the end of the video. Next item did go to a subscriber named William. This was for a set of those 3 spunhead, I called them leggy dancer doll ornaments. I wasn't quite sure like where they originally had come from or anything like that. I didn't know like the history behind them, but I found them at a yard sale just randomly, and I thought they were just so cool and unique. And those sold for $19.99. I also sold a Bloomingdale's little brown bag. This was just like a PVC tote purse that sold for $24.99. They did come from a yard sale, but the lady didn't charge me anything. I asked her how much it was, and she said I could just have it. So anytime someone says something like that, I always like double ask them, are you sure? Because, you know, I'm willing to give whatever, you know, they're asking. So that was really nice of her. Next I have a Calvin Klein maxi dress that sold for $15.99, and I'm pretty sure that came from a fill-a-bag rummage sale. When I used to go to fill-a-bag rummage sales, I definitely tended to look at clothes a lot more than what I do now. I still will pick up clothes, but I definitely am not as interested in clothes as I used to be. Next we have a vintage mop pet craft kit. So this just made like a floppy dog out of literal pieces of mop. That sold for $16.99, and that did come from a yard sale. I also sold a Five Nights at Freddy's Shadow Freddy. This was a Hot Topic exclusive that came from the auction where I had won a bunch of the Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, and that one sold for $289.99. I also sold a vintage Petite Princess planter for a dollhouse. So this was just like miniature dollhouse accessory pieces. That sold for $19.99, and that came from an auction. I had won a couple pieces of the Petite Princess by Ideal dollhouse furniture. I think I might have like 1 or 2 pieces left. Let's see, I sold, this was another Franklin library book. This one was Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. That sold for $69.99. And if you remember from my last cha-ching, we had won a bunch of Franklin Library books at an auction. I also sold a set of brass butterfly bookends for $49.95. Eric found these at a yard sale, and I think he paid $5 for them. I also sold a Unimid. This was a TENS unit. It's just like a thing that kind of like shocks you. You use it when you're in pain and stuff like that, and it kind of like shocks your muscles type of thing. That's over $119.99, and that also came from a yard sale, and I believe Eric paid $10 for it. Next item went to a subscriber named Bonnie. This was for a set of Scandinavian candle holders. I found these at Goodwill, one of the last times I ever made a Goodwill video. Those sold for $29.99. I also sold a vintage lucite gray swirled purse. I think I had a lucite purse in my last cha-ching, and now here's another one. This one also sold for $99.99. The vintage lucite purses can sell really well. I had won these at an auction. I sold a gingerbread baby plush. This sold for $29.99. It was one of those things that like I was super pleasantly surprised about. I had won a tray of some stuff at an auction, and there was like some gingerbread related pieces on there, and I just happened to look up this plush, and lo and behold, it was something that was selling really well. I think it had something to do with a storybook or something along those lines, so that was really cool. 26. Next we have another Franklin Library book. This one was called Anna Karenina, if I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. That sold for $29.99. The next two items went to a subscriber named Sandra. She purchased a J.R. Watkins travel kit. Just had a bunch of different J.R. Watkins items in that sold for $17.99. And she purchased a sunset jigsaw puzzle that sold for $19.99, and both of those items came from a yard sale. I sold a pair of studded sneakers by a brand called Pastry. These sold for $39.99. Eric actually picked these up at a yard sale, and I think he paid $2 for them. I also sold a NASA sticker and an Apollo patch for $19.99. These came with some, they were on a tray of some other like Disney type of ephemera that I had won at an auction. Next was a vintage from 1994 Hank Williams concert t-shirt that sold for $59.99, and that probably came from a yard sale. I also sold a South Park plush of Stan for $16.99, and again, that probably came from a yard sale. Next item also came from a yard sale. This was for a vintage blow-up Easter egg. It was an inflatable Easter egg that sold for $19.99. It actually came from an estate sale. I found it down in the basement. Next item was a Willie Ray piece. This one was called Pilgrim's Pride. That sold for $64.99. And that did come from an auction. Same with this next one, another Willie Ray piece. This one was called Buggy Ride. That sold for $49.99. I feel like every time I say about Willie Ray, a lot of my Willie Ray pieces, when I do pick them up and sell them, they go overseas. So there are overseas collectors who are definitely willing to spend a little more on the pieces because it's harder for them to get a hold of. I sold a pair of American Eagle Highest Rise jeans for $39.99. These probably came from a Fill-A-Bag rummage sale. I also sold this Santa Claus. This was actually signed by the maker, David Hardin. I found this at a yard sale. I was actually coming home from a Fill-A-Bag rummage sale the day that I found this, and I passed a yard sale and I ended up turning around and going back because I didn't realize that there was a yard sale, and I found it and I was just kind of drawn to it. I couldn't find anything about it. I don't think I really was getting like internet signal there when I was trying to look it up. But I think I paid $2 for it. I took a chance and it sold for $68. So definitely this David Hardin, people were looking for his stuff for sure. I also sold a pair of Tory Burch wedges for $49.99. Those came from a yard sale, and I'm pretty sure I paid $2 for them. So I remember at the yard sale, it was just like this young guy like taking care of the yard sale, and when I asked him how much the shoes were, he said $2, and then he's like, he said, my sister's gonna kill me, but $2. I was like, okay. And then I was like, yeah, she's gonna kill you. Next we have another Five Nights at Freddy's plush. This was called Chica. She sold for $29.99, and she came from one of the Five Nights at Freddy's plushie flats that we had won at the auction. Next item also went to Sandra. This was for a Left an Easter Angel that sold for $39.99, and I think she came from an auction as well. Then I have another Willie Ray piece. This one was called Tribute tribute to Bobby. I actually had 2 of these. These also came from the same auction where I was winning a bunch of other Willie Ray figures. This person purchased both of them. They were at $59.99 a piece. So altogether, they paid $119.98 for them. And they, like I said, did go overseas. Next was a set of 2 Sawyers. These were just tarp ball fasteners. They sold for a total of $19.98 because I had them listed at $9.99 a piece, and they purchased 2, and they came on a flat of some stuff that I won at an auction. I think they were on the same flat when I purchased those Zodiac astrology matches that were in my last cha-ching. I think these were on the same flat. Next was for a pair of cycling shoes by Pearl Azumi. Eric purchased these at a yard sale. I'm pretty sure he paid $20 or $25 for them, and they sold for $149.99. I also sold a Hunchback of Notre Dame Disney pin set. This sold for $39.99, and that did come from an auction. I sold a Vera Bradley wallet for $19.99, and that probably came from a yard sale. I also sold a Department 56. This was a Christmas Story Joke Shop Village piece that sold for $189.99, and that did come from an auction. Next was a vintage Insane Clown Posse shirt of Shaggy 2 Dope that sold for $35.99. That came from a yard sale. I also sold a Mack Trucks hat for $19.99, and I think that came from a yard sale as well. And then the last thing that I have for this cha-ching was for a men's Tim McGraw Southern Blend cologne that sold for $59.99, and I think that came from a yard sale, or it was on a tray of some other beauty related stuff that I won at an auction. I did want to take 1 minute to say, in my last cha-ching, I had a set of cookbooks, and I got so like caught up in like talking about the cookbooks that I forgot to mention that it was a subscriber named Tammy who purchased them. And like Eric watched my video and he's like, I think a subscriber purchased those cookbooks. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like I had the name, like I keep all of my my cha-ching things here, and then I have people's names beside anything that they purchased. And I was like, yeah, I know, Tammy purchased those. And he's like, well, you didn't say it in the video. And I was like, what do you mean I didn't say it? Like, her name was literally beside it. Why would I have not said it? So like, I went off on a tangent of these cookbooks and completely forgot to mention her name. So I wanted to apologize for that. Sometimes stuff like that happens and I don't mean for it to happen, but it does. I'm only human. But I want to, you know, shout you guys out when you purchase stuff from me. So if I ever miss somebody or miss something, please let me know and I will correct myself in my next video. She didn't even say anything. This was just Eric telling me and I'm just like blown away. Like, how did I not say it? Because I had it written down. But anyway, let's check out, see what that cha-ching was, shall we? I have a lot of the vases. A lot of the vases that I was selling were ending. I sold the one vase ended today, the Royal Crown Derby. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember that one? This one here, that really pretty. Hold on, there we go. The Royal Crown Derby vase ended. It sold for $229.50. So that was a good one. But yes, as far as this cha-ching goes, you're probably going to notice a couple of cha-chings popping up a little more frequently here lately because I'm still kind of behind on my cha-chings and I really would like to get up more videos, and I like sharing the cha-chings because I know you guys like seeing them, and it's a great like kind of resource type of thing to have to see what some things are selling for. You know what I mean? So it can be very helpful for people, and that's why I like doing them. It's not to brag or anything like that. It's to be helpful and to showing you what I'm picking up and, you know, what these things are currently selling for and that type of thing. But these are recent in the sense that, you know, we're in 2023 now, January. So if you're watching this like 3 years from now, the prices might not be exactly the same anymore. So just keep that in mind. I don't know how often people watch older videos, but just wanted to throw that out there because prices do fluctuate, and they can even fluctuate monthly as well, not even just yearly. But as far as if I have anything to talk about, I don't feel like I have much to talk about as far as eBay goes. Not eBay related, but I know I've mentioned in at least one other video that I did, I was talking about potentially selling on Whatnot. I was gonna try my hand at doing a live sale on Whatnot, and I was contacted by them to sell on Whatnot, and I decided to, you know, go through the process of it. And there was like a thing you have to do. It's called onboarding, and they basically you're just in like a group chat type of thing with other people who are doing the onboarding, and then like the person in charge of like explaining how it all works and stuff like that. And I did that just the other day, so I do have full access now to sell on Whatnot. So whenever I do actually like schedule a show and get it all together, I will let you guys know in case you're interested in checking my show out. I don't know how many people are familiar with Whatnot, or you know, you might already be purchasing stuff from there and things like that. It's something that I enjoy like watching. I enjoy watching shows. I buy stuff. I bought stuff for myself. I've also bought stuff to resell on there. Not every seller on there cares so much about what they're making type of thing, because there's this one person like I've been watching, and he buys a lot of storage units, and he's really just looking to obviously make his money back from the unit and profit some, but he doesn't have the time to like actually list every single thing from a storage unit type of thing. So it's just like quick, easy money to regain you know, what he spent on the unit type of thing. And I mean, some of the stuff that he sells like is worth hundreds of dollars, and it goes for like not a whole lot. So it's just it's crazy, and it's a great way for people like resellers to find some deals to then resell themselves, but also a place to, you know, find stuff for yourself as well at a good, like, reasonable price. So the things that I would probably be listing on Whatnot would probably be maybe some things that I do have listed on eBay currently but have been sitting for a while, to just kind of like open up, to share it to new eyeballs type of thing, to get it out there, and maybe, you know, a new audience will be interested in it, and that'll clear up some shelves of, you know, what I have. And then also I'm always talking about box lot stuff that I get at the auction, and not all of it is stuff that I really want to sit down and make listings of and things like that. So I have like totes full of just what I call box lot items from auctions that I could, you know, put into these shows and try to clear out kind of thing. So it wouldn't be anything super expensive. You know what I mean? Like, I'd just be wanting to clear out stuff type of thing. So you guys will be the first to know. I said it in like the last time I mentioned it. But in the meantime, I do have a referral link down in my description, and I think if you sign up and you make a purchase on Whatnot, I think you get a free $10 credit. I want to say it's $10. If you're at all interested. I know it doesn't interest everybody, but you know, just in case you are. But yeah, so that's like my newest, wanting to like dip my foot into that that puddle of water just to see how it would go. But yeah, we'll see. And like I said, you guys will be the first to know. I'm still like trying to like map it all out in my head as to like what I want to do and how I want to do it and that type of thing. But I just need to just do it instead of like figuring out every single little detail. But that's pretty much everything for this video. I probably just don't have much to talk about as far as like eBay goes. I mean, knock on wood, everything is going fine and going smooth, and you know, I'm pretty happy with it all. So yeah, stay tuned for more cha-chings because I'll be popping out a decent amount here within like the next week or so. You might be seeing like maybe two, maybe three cha-chings a week. We'll see what I can do. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you thought down in the comments, and I will see you next time.